The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome, everybody. This is Rob Garf, and you are attending the latest installment of the B2C Commerce Partner Demo Jam. Really excited to be joined by several of our partners today to not just talk about their product, but actually demonstrate our product. By way of introduction, again, my name is Rob. I head up our strategy and insights team within retail and consumer goods, but came by way of the Demandware acquisition. So Commerce Cloud holds a very special place in my heart, and I love the partner ecosystem, really bringing the platform to life. I am also joined by my co-host, Parminder Mears and Kevin Penta from our B2C Commerce Partner team. So they will be helping me run the show here and keeping things moving. But as I mentioned, super excited to be joined by 6 of our B2C Commerce partners, and they're going to show off their stuff, their incredible technology and solution. So we are joined here today by Annex Cloud, Bolt, Computop, Contentsquare, Globale, and Signifyd. So to help us get this show on the road, I'm going to turn it over to Parmi to give us the rules of the road here. So here you go,
Sure.
Parmi, take it away.
Thanks, Rob. So each partner will have 3 minutes to demo their integration. No slides are allowed. There'll be one winner chosen by you, our audience. You cannot vote for your own company, so any of the partners' colleagues, please do not vote. And after all 6 partners have presented, we will provide you with a voting link and we'll announce the winner at the end of this session. Kevin, can you explain the timekeeping, please?
Sure. Thanks, Parmi. Appreciate it. So real quick, everybody, partners will start their demo on the host queue. When you hear, to make it a little bit fun here for our demo jams, when you hear an owl sound, that means that they have 30 seconds remaining for their demo. An elephant sound means that time is up. And that is it. So with that being said, let's let the fun begin. Rob, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, for sure. Again, Parmi, thank you. And Kevin, I feel like the winner should, sing "In the Jungle," the mighty jungle, as we get through this. So that could be a blessing and a curse as you look to win the prize of best demo. But let's just jump right in. I will also say, by the way, for anybody out there listening, if you have any questions or comments for our partners or for Salesforce, please post them in the chat window. We'll try to get to them throughout the rest of the time here, and if we don't get to them, we'll certainly follow up with you. So let's start with Annex Cloud. So when I think of Annex Cloud, I think of customer marketing platform, loyalty, referral marketing, user-generated content, a whole host of solutions to really optimize the customer journey and provide that real dream of the 360-degree view of the customer and the customer experience. And to bring this to life, I'd like to introduce Ryan Tillis. He's the Senior Product Specialist for Annex Cloud. So without further ado, let's turn it over to Ryan. You ready to go and take this thing away?
Yep, can you hear me okay?
Can hear you just fine, go for it.
Great, thank you so much, Rob, and thanks for the intro. If you need a new job, we're always hiring. We'd love for you to come talk that way for us. So what I'm going to do here today for everybody on the webinar is I'm going to walk you through 3 different integrations that we have today with Salesforce. I'm going to show you how I built a loyalty program using our SFRA cartridge inside of an e-retailer. I'm going to show you how I designed that inside of Page Designer, and I'm going to show you how I use my loyalty data inside of Salesforce Marketing Cloud to personalize my email content and to make a more 360-degree holistic profile of my customer. So this is my normal e-retailer. I'm displaying how many points I have available, what my current tier is. I can even see how many points I'll earn when I go ahead and buy a product. Maybe there's some sort of special campaign going on and I can earn double points or something like that's going on. I'll get a dashboard so that when I, log into my account section, maybe I can see, how far away I am to my next tier, maybe some other ways to earn points, like give my birthday. Maybe there are some, rewards I can get. Maybe there's some history, of all the stuff I've done and all the stuff I've redeemed for. And I'm going to be able to do all of that. then as well, when I'm going ahead and I'm checking out, I want to be able to, say, hey, I'm going to buy this $192 item, or, a few items. And what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to transfer my points into, actual dollars and actual money. So I have $25 available. I'll go ahead and, use $20 right here, and then I'll go ahead and place that order. And what we'll be able to see is that, I used 100 points so that I could get $20 off my payment, so that instead of it being, whatever it was supposed to be, because after tax it was another $22.99, I got it all the way down to $205. So all of that is possible with our cartridge. You'll be able to do all of that. And the way that you're going to go ahead and set that up is you're going to be able to come inside of Salesforce's Page Designer. We'll go ahead and we'll refresh that. Well, we'll give it a second. Maybe it'll come back. But either way, at the end, what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to come into your Salesforce Marketing Cloud instance, and you're going to be able to take all of that same data, and you're going to be able to personalize your email content, segment your data by, maybe it's available points, maybe it's points to the next tier, maybe it's actions they've completed, like people that have connected with you on social media versus people that have, 50 points available. And then what you'll get at the very end is you'll get something kind of similar to our customer Elf Cosmetics, who's able to not only reward people through their Salesforce extensions, but also able to reward people for buying out of third-party manufacturers. And they've built themselves a nice little tiered program with coupons as part of that. Thank you so much, Rob.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan. That was great. And I love you ending with Elf Cosmetics. Actually, they were featured at Dreamforce a couple weeks ago, including our keynote for retail, where we really showed off not only how they're working on the customer experience as you're describing it, but really focusing on diversity and inclusion as a brand and for their customers. So great brand to showcase there. And really, I liked not only seeing how it manifested itself in the customer experience, but also the merchant and the marketing or marketer experiences, with it baked right into SFRA or Salesforce reference architecture, being able to, if you were able to showcase it, Page Designer, which is a relatively new feature that really allows you to drag and drop certain capabilities and user formats. And finally, having it integrated into Marketing Cloud, so you're not only doing the planning, but you're able to actually seamlessly integrate it into the execution. So nicely done in the short time you had. So that's my long intro to now throw a question your way, Ryan. So I've been following this space for a long time. Actually, as an analyst, I followed loyalty, and loyalty's been around for a long time. We all grew up with it in the supermarket space, which is really just a glorified discount program. So I guess I'm wondering, loyalty is really resurged as an important aspect, both as a program and an outcome. What are you doing to really help brands and retailers focus on the consumer experience, so it's less about a discount program and margin erosion, and really capturing, again, the outcome of loyalty and advocacy?
Well, I think the way that we look at it is a bit unique for each scenario. So every brand that we work with, or every company that we're ever going to work with, has a fan base, if you want to call it that. And there's a really big fan base of people that will support them. Maybe they'll go buy a gift. Maybe they'll go buy, Elf Cosmetics for their wife or something like that, or for their daughter. But then there's the people that will go buy it, multiple times a year, or multiple times a month, that are your, sort of core fan base. And what we want to do is we want to design a program that, not only helps the everyday person, but also is really benefiting that core fan base, that top 10%. Because when that top 10% of your customers spends 10 or 20% more next year with you, and they do that consistently across all of them, that's going to make your company more revenue than, if the bottom 90 or bottom 80% all spend 10 or 20% more with you next year.
Got it. Yeah, so it's about activating and motivating your already engaged base. So that's great. Awesome, Ryan. Thank you very much. Hang tight here. We'll see if any other questions popped up. But in the meantime, Parmi, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Rob. So moving swiftly on, we have Bolt next. So Bolt replaces fragmented online shopping, payment, and fraud software with one sophisticated, easy-to-use smart platform. And today we have Lauren Kelly doing the demo. Lauren, are you ready?
I believe so. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right. Awesome. Ready to go.
Go for it.
All right. So we all know that there is a problem at checkout. There are poorly designed pages, clunky workflows, there's login walls, unsupported payment methods, fraud checks, all happening at checkout. The problem is really a problem of intent and effort. So if there's a high intent user that thinks there's too much effort required to check out, they abandon their purchase. There's also a lot of effort put in by retailers. So they manage their UI, they integrate payment methods, gateways, processors, they handle chargebacks and risk. And so Bolt is a single integration that solves for all of this. We have the highest converting checkout platform on the web. And so Salesforce Commerce Cloud users can stand up a brilliantly designed checkout for web and mobile, offer all the relevant payment types like cards, Apple Pay, PayPal, and financing options. And for the roughly 70% of people that are still paying with a credit card, we remove as much friction from that experience as possible and fully secure the merchant against chargeback risk. So we not only reduce the friction and eliminate chargebacks, but we approve more orders in standalone risk tools. Bolt handles everything the retailer needs at the end of funnel. So when their user decides to click checkout, we make sure that nothing gets in their way when they decide to buy. All of this leads to a massive improvement in conversion. And so what I'm about to show you is what our 50+ engineers and designers have built for Bolt retailers. But keep in mind that this is not a static experience. We are constantly A/B testing and release new higher performing versions of the checkout. So here it is in the real world. You can see on my screen here at SwissGear, we have the Bolt checkout modal overlay loaded. We are still on the URL. We don't use redirects. We want to keep continuity in the site experience. You can see all my information here is preloaded. We have all best practices in terms of data entry here. So we have inline error handling, so we're not going to save poor emails. We also have Google address autofill here and Google address recommendations to suggest where that user might be in the world and help you select an address. When that user clicks continue, we're going to validate that address using Glob. Make sure that we're shipping that product to a real location to help with returns. We're going to pull in all of the shipping information from whatever that user has on the back end. They can select. We have the pre-selected shipping option there, and we'll continue on to the next page. This is where we enter the payment details. And you'll notice there is no billing address or billing zip code needed here. So it's about 10 lines of information that we are eliminating from the checkout process. You can also see there's no drop downs, really simplifying this, removing clicks. And once we click pay, this is going to store that information not only for SwissGear, but for any Bolt retailer. So when that user comes back, they're going to have a single click checkout experience, whether it's here at SwissGear or at any Bolt enabled retailer. So in summary, we're eliminating about 10 lines of data entry, 4 clicks. We're eliminating redirects, and we're about 30 to 90 seconds faster than the standard Salesforce Commerce Cloud checkout. So now Salesforce Commerce Cloud users can integrate credit card payments, PayPal, Apple Pay, financing options, and fraud tools with the Salesforce Commerce Cloud integration. Sorry, I thought I heard the elephant there. Was that the elephant?
It was the elephant, yes.
All right.
Yes.
Cool.
But you did it right in the nick of time, and gosh, we all got to hear the elephant, so couldn't go wrong there.
Good deal.
Hey, so, I'm going to hop in here, and I got a question for you, Lauren. First of all, that was great, and anything that can really break down the friction between the inspiration and purchase, particularly on mobile, where I don't know if anybody else feels this way. It's been sort of clunky for a long time. I think we're finally breaking through that with solutions like Bolt. But here's my question for you. I've been looking at the checkout and designing checkout for, gosh, almost 20, 25 years at this point. And it feels like somewhat, in many cases, of a Frankenstein approach in terms of just continuing to add layer on layer that provides functionality, but then also just makes it drag in terms of performance. So can you talk a little bit about why a retailer or brand would go the way of Bolt rather than redesigning checkout and continuing to add on custom code?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple things here that are really unique to Bolt. One is that our fraud modeling complements our checkout rather than complicate it. So traditionally, you have to connect your checkout to payment providers and fraud tools, and a lot of the information gathered at checkout has to do with securing that transaction against risk. So you notice we eliminated the billing zip code and the billing address. That's really part of making those two tools complementary. The other piece is that we have 50+ engineers and designers that are constantly thinking about checkout, constantly enhancing this checkout, removing fields, doing A/B testing. There's a lot of risk inherent for a retailer to do that sort of thing, because the more you A/B test, the more you break things. I also never talk to a retailer that's flush with resources to do that sort of thing. So Bolt is really staying ahead of the curve there, not only optimizing the checkout experience, but adding in relevant payment instruments. And you've seen this surge of sort of financing options that have come about. Those are things that Bolt is constantly integrating, whether it's new wallets, new financing options, that sort of thing. So it's a fully managed checkout solution for retailers.
Cool. So you might have just beat us to the punch, because there was a question that came in from the audience, and it sounds like you hit it a bit, but let me just ask it again to make sure it's really clear, because the question is around complex checkout, such as high dollar purchases that might require a credit check or installment payments. So is this the type of sophistication you're continually adding on? How does a merchant take advantage of that?
Yeah, so a couple things there. So for high ticket items, the fraud component is obviously at play there. So we want to simplify that checkout experience to capture that user at the moment of their intent. But we also want to secure it against risk. So that's really handled through Bolt by full indemnification of that transaction. And then, yeah, staying ahead of things like offering financing options like Affirm or Afterpay, Klarna. Those are all things that Bolt has either integrated or has on our roadmap.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, sir. That was great. Really appreciate it. I'm going to jump in here and we're going to switch gears and now focus on Computop. So we were just talking about checkouts. A key piece, obviously, to checkouts is payments, and Computop is a service provider for global omni-channel payments. They are headquartered in Germany, but have offices all around, including the US, England, and China. They work across various different industries, but retail is one of their core industries, and that's what we're really going to hear today. And to do that, I'd like to introduce Ursula Ertelt, who is the International Partner Relationship Manager. So you're there, Ursula. Can you take it away and lead us through this great demo you got for us?
Yes, thanks, Parminder, Rob, and Kevin for the nice introduction. Hi there together. Yes, we are a payment service provider based with its headquarters in Germany. And we also serve large enterprise merchants and with the Salesforce Commerce Cloud. And for example, Puma is one of our merchants using the Salesforce Commerce Cloud. And I would like to demonstrate today the checkout of Puma, which is hosted by the Salesforce Commerce Cloud and Computop Paygate. And the need for Puma was really to expand into further countries and to add local payment methods to really increase conversion rates and to get the most out of end consumers to pay their products and also pay local. So this is a checkout from Puma. So I added already my details. So I am going to buy a woman's trainer. And if I go to the checkout and hopefully it works now. Okay. Yeah. Takes. So then you can find the local payments for the Netherlands, which is ideal. PayPal we offer, and also the credit card solutions. And so this is not working right now. So okay. Their need was basically also to expand into other countries. And another merchant, which is one of our customers, is Illy. They also wanted to expand, for example, into China. And they integrated basically our gateway in China and added Alipay. And this is really great for them to offer even in China local payments. So then I would like to show you our dashboard, which is available for all clients we have integrated. So they use the Salesforce Commerce Cloud, and they have the freedom now to really see their transactions, an overview of all channels they generate their transactions. So let me show you that. I want to switch in English. So as you can see, we have a variety of payment schemes available per country. And in Europe, not everyone holds a credit card. So in the example I wanted to show you with Puma is that if you have not Ideal in your checkout, you really cannot reach everyone because this is the preferred payment scheme. And
with time's up.
Okay. Yeah.
3 minutes goes very quickly. I know.
Yeah. So much to get through, and I particularly like not only the capabilities but this visibility that you provide on this dashboard. So I guess I got two questions for you, Ursula. One is, you highlighted Puma. They have dozens of sites around the world. Can you talk a little bit, really quickly, I know this could be a whole hour session just on the integration, but how quickly can you turn on these local payments? And what really, I mean, we all know inherently why you want to pay with the local currency, but like what the benefits are and what value customers like Puma have seen from localizing their payments.
Yeah, it's always the best example to show it in, for example, the Netherlands, because everyone really uses Ideal as a preferred payment scheme, and they are actually integrated into the local bank institutions. And compared to a credit card transactions, you have 80% Ideal transactions compared to 20% of the rest of the payment options you have in your checkout. That is really it's important to have those local payment schemes in your checkout. And the same applies basically for Illy, as they wanted to expand in China, and it was important for them to offer a local payment scheme like WeChat, Alipay, everyone knows in China, to buy and pay with the preferred payment option. And that's why it's key for us to offer to our merchants the payments to increase conversions. And this is how the strategy is, to really also consult our merchants to integrate the right payment mix to have the most transaction volumes.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And actually, I think you also addressed one of the questions we got in terms of Illy was the customer that you referenced who was expanding into China. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to shift here, and I'm going to turn it over to Parmi to feature our next partner. Take it away, Parmi.
Okay, thanks, Rob. Next up, we have Contentsquare. So Contentsquare is a UX analytics solution that sits between your B2C commerce site and your web analytics. So we all know e-commerce managers are always under pressure to meet increasing sales expectations. Google and Adobe Analytics tell them where shoppers are abandoning, but not necessarily why that is happening. So that's where Contentsquare comes in. They answer the next set of questions, i.e. the why and the how of visitor behavior. So Nathan, are you ready?
We are indeed. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. I'm starting the clock now.
Excellent. Hey, Marks and Spicy team. Today we've got a really quick 3-minute status update. So let's get through a couple updates. Plus, I've got some really cool software to show you. So first up, homepage and merch. Adam, how's the homepage doing?
Good. Compared to last month, we've had an increase in SEO traffic, but there was a 3% increase in bounce rate.
Yeah, I think we need to update the promo content, and I feel there's good stuff hidden at the bottom of the page.
Well, this is actually a perfect time to show you that piece of software. With Contentsquare, we can actually go directly on our site and overlay how users are actually interacting with the page. In this case, we can see where users are actually clicking.
Wow, so 6% of people are actually clicking on the 25% off sale?
See, I told you no one's clicking on the summer promotion content anymore.
Yeah, so now instead of speculating, we can actually be informed with real data.
Okay, but just because people are clicking doesn't mean they're buying.
Well, we can use a lot of other metrics that indicate performance, such as conversion rate per click, which will tell us the percentage chance of a user going on to transact after clicking.
Wow, that sell promo is working perfectly. 16% of people that click transact. We really need to encourage more customers to interact with it.
Do you think we can swap out the summer sale since it's not working?
Yeah, if we actually scroll further down the page, we can see that, for example, the top trends works really, really well. We may want to swap those positions and give it some of that prime real estate up at the top.
Awesome, but how does all this relate to customer spend?
Well, we can also get into revenue, where we can directly directly understand how much revenue is being generated by every piece of content on the site.
Awesome. Right now, we don't have a good way of attributing revenue to content.
Okay, you guys sound like you have a couple key action points. Ecom team, how's the checkout doing?
Pretty good. It looks like we have fewer complaints recently, though we did have a user complaining about the checkout last week. I spent hours digging through session replays, couldn't find anything.
Well, we also visualize customer journeys at Contentsquare. I'll show you how it works a little bit later on, but I was able to see that for visits without transactions, they were actually making it to the payment step and then getting stuck, hitting the page over and over, which got me thinking, what's wrong with this page? I was then able to go into the in-page information and see that users were getting really frustrated with the city field. Everyone was clicking an average of 4.22 times. I'm then able to right-click, go into a session replay where we can directly see for this user that they're clicking away on that grayed out city field after filling in a zip code.
So it looks like the city field isn't auto-completing from the zip code. I'm ticketing this to IT stat.
Okay, this is all great, but I don't have time to do this every day. Is there any way we can monitor the site?
Yeah, I've already set up my dashboards with KPIs that are important to me, and I've already set up some AI alerts so I can be proactively alerted when things on the site actually change in a negative way.
Wow, this is really going to change how we work. How did you find all this?
Through the Link Marketplace. I saw a couple customer success stories about how Contentsquare helps brands like GoPro, L'Occitane, and Elf Cosmetics to democratize the data, something that we want to achieve here. It's time we remove opinion from the discussion and get the data into your hands to make the optimizations quick and easy. So with all that said, guys, back to work. Let's get some sales, and I'm looking forward to showing you all a little bit more another time.
Wow, perfect timing. Nicely done, team. Thank you. So first of all, yeah, we saw that something was broken in the checkout. Obviously, there are a couple other partners on this call that I think can help with that. So I like how this all kind of ticks and ties together. And, you know, if I focus on what you showcased here, really bringing together the analytics with the site, so you're not having to toggle between different interfaces to really figure out what's wrong and then have to execute it. Can you talk a little bit about, you mentioned GoPro as an example, really how it's changing the way they're monitoring and understanding the performance of their site and the various marketing tactics they're doing? How is this helping them become more agile? How is it allowing them to go from insights to action? Can you describe a little bit, and I just use GoPro as a placeholder, but how your customers are really seeing benefit from this?
Yeah, so I will go through with GoPro as an example here, actually. So they actually came to us with a very exhaustive A/B testing program and optimization program, as a lot of our clients come to us with. However, sort of prior to having this data, it was a lot of opinion-based optimization about what one person thinks they should change versus another, and then they would make those changes and not really know where to go from there. So GoPro, they actually entirely phased out their whole A/B testing optimization platform because they had this data-driven insight from Contentsquare to actually make those changes on the site. The directional data really told them which areas of the site are interacted with, which are working well, and thus they're able to actually make changes on the fly. So it's really about creating that speed to insight and presenting it in a very visual way that anyone on the team can actually utilize.
All right, thanks Nathan, team, well done. All right, so I'm gonna now move on to Globale, and we're gonna highlight this partner. And as the name suggests, they are all about international. And if you're somebody in Europe or you're a brand looking to go overseas, I know from the heritage of the what was Demandware, now Commerce Cloud days, this was a key opportunity for brands to really move beyond their core selling environment. And companies like Globale help you do that with cross-border selling. So whether that's local pricing, and they help with 95 plus currencies, or various payment options on more than 150, or guaranteed tax and duty calculation, all pieces that create issues when you're going across border, they help with. So to really showcase this and bring it to life, I'd like to introduce Mile Patterson. Mile is VP of Sales. So you're ready to take it away and show us what this looks like?
Ready to rock and roll.
Go for it.
Great, thanks everybody. So just to give you the quick introduction to Globale, Globale provide a link cartridge which supports Salesforce Commerce Cloud versions, everything from Site Genesis all the way up to SFRA. Here's an example of Mark Jacobs, where you can see Globale utilizing the GeoIP recognition tool within Salesforce Commerce Cloud. And we've actually identified a customer here who wants to buy it in China. The customer who's arrived at the site, they can basically buy in their local currency with local payment options, shipping, and we integrate all of the necessary providers, around 40 different companies, to give your merchants the ability to transact worldwide without the need to implement and handle all that due diligence. As an example here, you can see that the Chinese customer has landed on the site and they've been presented with a set of options. Here, there's also the option to change currency, but we know that over 98% of shoppers worldwide prefer to pay in their local currency anyway, so I'll stick with the currency that we have today. When you enter into the buying experience, you can now see that the localized price point is in the local currency and fully rounded, and we support all Salesforce Commerce Cloud price lists so that merchants can actually create their own localized price file in each territory, meaning consistency of brand with wholesale, distribution, concessions, and of course franchises in market. Or we can also create a localized price point that would enable that merchant to basically capitalize on having a specific margin or price point in that territory alone. That also enables us to implement elements of the costing structure like shipping costs or duties and taxes into the cost of goods, making it much easier, removing those barriers for the customer when actually transacting. And as you can see here, as the customer adds the product to bag, we have a live price file that's consistent throughout the journey. When we then move into the checkout, which, sorry, I'm just trying to do here, you can see that we can check out as a guest, and as we do this, it will move into the global e-checkout, which is hosted as a secure container on your secure container page within a global iframe. And all of the content that you see here is displayed for the customer in China, and you can see that we have localized pricing, localized payment elements. We implement 9 different payment gateways, giving us 150 different payment options. And you can see here, for example, in China, 74% of shoppers prefer to use the options such as WeChat, Alipay, and UnionPay. So if you haven't got those in place, you're really missing out on almost 74% of cross-border customers shipping worldwide. Another example here is for Vince, also another Salesforce Commerce Cloud merchant, where in the Netherlands we support Ideal, which is currently offering sales to around 60% of online shoppers in the Netherlands alone. The customer can also change the language, and we do this because we know that within the checkout in particular, around 92% of worldwide shoppers aren't actually transacting in their native language. So to help them over that conversion element and that confusion around language, we can actually translate here, for example, into Arabic, which you can see where the content is flipped from left to right to left. When the customer actually enters in their information, we also process the full fraud screen, and we're also handling the shipping piece in place for the merchant as well. So the customer has a fully end-to-end experience, and the order is also shipped to the end customer.
Miles, sorry to interrupt, Miles, time's up.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, nice job, Miles. Before I let you go, though, a question or two for you. So there are a lot of considerations, obviously, when you're going international, not just technology, but process, organization as well. Can you talk about what's one of the more difficult or complex things merchants should think about or consider? And then what is one of the just key criteria? Like, what's the thing that they should focus on first to really help convert internationally?
Great question, and I'll revert back to a merchant on the Salesforce Commerce Cloud platform like Marc Jacobs, who were using a prior provider for shipping, and they needed to switch that provider off pretty quickly. Globally was implemented within 2 weeks onto the Salesforce Commerce Cloud platform, so we had them up and live very, very rapidly. Their biggest concern was around the localization element, not just around all of the features that you need, but also that knowledge that really underpins why to set up a configuration of a buying experience in each country. Globally, we are a tech company, but we're also very much a data company, which means that we can understand and assess every market worldwide for all of your Salesforce Commerce Cloud merchants, and then underpin each country with its own unique buying experience, meaning every country feels like you're buying locally, not buying worldwide. And this is something that has been core to a business like Marc Jacobs. We actually saw a 77% year-on-year increase in the number of international orders, and that actually resulted in a 130% year-on-year increase in online international revenue at an international conversion rate increase of 69%. So with the data and the right level of offering for every country, you can guarantee that you're going to be seeing around a 58% average conversion across all markets.
Nice. Hey, so I got one from the audience quickly before I let you go, Miles, and that is around the pricing and the price rounding. How does that work in terms, and I'm going to paraphrase what's actually written in here, but how does it work in terms of actually defining the price? Is that something that it's handled black box algorithm, or does the customer have ability to define it and really select it? Talk a little bit about the control that's available for the merchant.
This is the beauty of our Salesforce Commerce Cloud cartridge. We do both. One is the merchant might say we have a physical store in the United Arab Emirates, and we need to make sure that our website is reflective of the price of product in that store, and they can upload their price file in their e-commerce platform. Likewise, if they don't have a rigorous pricing structure in a territory, Global East system can automatically create a localized pricing in that territory in order to absorb any subsidies, in order to have a very, very attractive purchasing proposition for the customer in that market. So that as an example that you could have seen in my demo, duties and taxes could be completely prepaid by rolling that cost into the product pricing. And we configure that across all markets based on handling 250 clients into 200 territories, knowing how to configure that pricing model so that it uplifts sales and offers an excellent customer experience.
Okay, thank you, Miles. All right, Parmi, I'm going to turn it to you to bring us home with Signified.
Okay, last but not least, we have Signified. So Signified provide an end-to-end commerce protection platform. They have an advanced machine learning engine which protects merchants from fraud, consumer abuse, and revenue loss caused by barriers and friction in the buying experience. Signified counts amongst its customers a number of companies on the Fortune 1000 and Internet Retailer Top 500 lists. They are headquartered in San Jose, California, with offices in Denver, New York, Belfast, and London. So we have Gayatri, Director of Product Management. Are you ready, Gayatri?
Yes, I am.
Okay, the clock starts now. Thank you.
Good morning from California. With card-not-present transactions, the liability for fraud is unfairly placed on the merchant by the banks. And so this is exactly where Signified comes in, providing financially backed order guarantees in under a second, eliminating fraud review friction in the checkout experience. So most of Signified's product works behind the scenes, powered by machine learning. Once we've integrated into the checkout flow via our Salesforce Commerce Cloud integration, there's really no need to interact with any tools on a daily basis. But metrics and data are important for our merchants to review Signified's impact and where their fraud is coming from. And our latest addition to our app, Signified Insights, provides this capability. So here we're looking at a large apparel retailer with approximately $6 billion in annual online sales. And by turning away fraud and eliminating false declines over time, an increase in sales over the previous year is no surprise. And in fact, the e-commerce finance manager at this retailer actually uses this consolidated summary in business reviews with their management, showcasing the value of Signified and their overall business. So let's move to the fraud protection tab. Here, typically an e-commerce ops or risk lead can take a look at how Signified is protecting their revenue and chargeback rates. By declining bad orders, we've saved them approximately $5.2 million in potential fraud losses. We've also really decreased the time for an order to get to fulfillment. How? With Signified, orders are no longer held up in manual fraud reviews for hours to days, getting that shipment confirmation email out quickly. Claims payouts fulfills our guarantee promise. In the event that we guarantee a bad transaction as good and it results in a fraud chargeback, we cover it. Merchants can also look at how they compare to their peers within our Signified ecosystem, and they can also take a look at where their fraud is coming from. For those analysts that really like to nerd out on data, the analytics section provides this ability. You can check out which cart sizes generate the most revenue and fraud. You can also look at specific products and their performance. It's no surprise that this Tory Burch bag has a high chargeback rate, obviously great resale on eBay. This Topshop dress, clear leader in sales, top at the month, and not obviously because one of the Kardashians was spotted in this last month, and that's a clear top sale. Once the shield is up with Signified's protection, bad actors will be turned away, but they can keep trying. And so by exposing top offenders, merchants can take action earlier in their checkout flow by blacklisting or even blocking these addresses or emails completely, not even bothering going through detailed fraud review, because we know that they're just repeat offenders. In the short time I have left, let's quickly look at the chargeback summary. As you can see here, chargebacks can come in from a variety of reasons outside of just fraud, and we also cover post-fulfillment abuse. So we provide INR protection as well as revenue recovery by fighting chargebacks. And that's the value that Signified provides.
Thank you very much. Very nice job flying through that. I guess just a quick question on, you mentioned very quickly being able to benchmark, right, in terms of looking at results and performance and so forth vis-a-vis everybody else on the Signified platform. Can you talk a little bit about what that looks like and the benefit of doing that?
Yes, definitely. So given the fact that we have thousands of merchants, we have the ability to be able to benchmark our performance looking at similar cohorts based on average order value, their risk profile, as well as the industry that they're in. And so by comparing merchants to similar cohorts, we're actually able to benchmark metrics like approval rates, chargeback rates, to really let a customer see if they're performing similar or even better, which could be the case, especially if other merchants within their cohort are experiencing high fraud pressure.
Great, thank you very much. All right, that was a whirlwind tour through some amazing partners and how they really help our retailer and brands around the world get closer to their customers. Parma, you want to talk through voting and how we're going to handle that and how we're going to really enlist the audience to hear what they think?
Yes, absolutely. So voting is now open. So please use this URL to cast your vote for any one of the 6 fantastic demos that we have seen today. As a reminder, please do not vote if you work for one of these companies. We would like the audience to vote for their favorites. So you have about 3 minutes to cast your vote, and then we will announce the winner at the end, where the winner will get a trophy. So, Rob, any additional comments on what you've seen today? Is there anything that you'd like to share around what we're seeing across the platform, maybe during Cyber Week?
Yeah, sure. First of all, huge week for Cyber Week for merchants around the world. We saw for Cyber Week something like $31 billion in the US alone, and so that's up double digits. So certainly there are some macro trends happening around the world that has caused some trepidation, but consumer sentiment seemed to be really strong, particularly with the shorter holiday in the US between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Retailers were really trying to drum up demand earlier and earlier. We saw that through higher traffic through the first couple of weeks of November, but consumers, as they often do, they were holding off and waiting for the big discounts. We saw 31% discount rate on Monday, and so consumers were really winning the game of what I call discount chicken by really waiting to see when they were going to get that last big deal. And mobile was a big winner too. And I guess that brings me to a lot of what we talked about today, which I'd categorize, and I mentioned it before, really breaking down that friction between inspiration and purchase, and all of the partners that were featured today really help do that. There's one thing to inspire a consumer, be in front of them when they're doing research and discovery, but for so long we've made it really difficult, very clunky actually, particularly on mobile, to really click the buy button and purchase. And so, I always encourage the executives I talk about around the world to think about how they really are simplifying the last mile of checkout and really making that easier. So we're going to, Parmi in fact is going to talk about the demo jams next, but before we do that, there are a couple of lingering questions that came in from the audience, and we don't have a long time here. So there are 3 questions I'd like to highlight, and if we could keep the answers to like really quick hit 30 seconds, that would be awesome. First one I'm going to do is Annex Cloud. You out there? Perhaps come off mute while I ask you this question, which is, could you describe what capabilities you have for offline mode? So obviously you demoed in the short amount of time how you can leverage this digitally, but how is this connected to offline and receipt scanning?
Yeah, thanks, Rob. So Well, we have a receipt scanner, which you just mentioned. So if you were, say, buying something at a ball game or buying something at a mall, you're not necessarily interacting directly with Nike, or I think we saw Puma today from one of the demoers. You're not necessarily interacting with Puma, but you're interacting with Foot Locker. And we'll take the Foot Locker receipt and we can reward somebody off that. We also integrate with a number of different, point of sales. We also integrate with a number of different ERP solutions. So we've designed different loyalty data schemas based on the clients and based on where we think would be the simplest place for us to validate purchase information. And sometimes that is with, third parties. So we'll use something like an invoice scanner or a receipt scanner, which utilizes OCR technology to be able to read a picture.
Excellent. Thank you. I love it just in terms of the omni-channel world we live in and our consumers live in. Great to know that this spans the different physical and digital touch points. And hey, shifting gears to Bolt, just a quick question, global capabilities. How does your solution work around the world? And it looks like you might still be on mute if you're trying to talk.
Yeah, hey, sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
I'm glad I can hear you now. Go for it.
All right. So there's a lot to consider in terms of globalization, but what Bolt does handle is the payment piece around globalization, the fraud piece around globalization, so fully indemnifying those orders as well, but also presenting in local currency to international consumers, as well as localizing that checkout page by language. We are integrating payment methods as well, so things like Alipay and WeChat, Klarna, and direct debit for European market.
Great, thank you. And finally, Contentsquare. So I'll filibuster here for a second while you go off mute. And the general question is around headless. So you featured very well in terms of how this would look on a Salesforce reference architecture type of site where the content slots are pretty well defined. As more and more retailers and brands think about pushing their brand to wherever the consumers are across a myriad of different touch points, how do you think about headless?
Yeah, could you just repeat that word for me again? Headless?
Yeah, so in terms of when more and more of the experiences are happening off of the retailer's website, so whether that's on WeChat or WhatsApp or Instagram or TikTok or on third parties, have you thought about how you kind of have a full view of the experience and the data across a headless environment?
Yeah, definitely. So we do give a lot of thought to sort of user level analytics and how do users actually hit those digital touch points, but not only that, with those offline touch points. So it sort of leads into the segmentation of the platform, and that we can get really, really powerful with bits of offline information about how users actually interact. So for example, we could begin to set up segments of users actually having a physical touch point offline, and then we can take that touch point and see how differently they interact online. So then it becomes a case of actually optimizing for those different experiences that the user wants out of the site.
Okay, thank you. All right, Parm, you want to talk about what's next and get everybody excited for the next demo jam?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a few more demo jams that are being run by the App Exchange team. We have one next week, Thursday, one in January, and one in February. So if you're a cross-cloud customer or a consulting partner that supports our customers across our technology stack, please register to see some more fantastic demos from our partners, and you can use the link that you see there. And then Connections. So after the resounding success of the demo jams at Connections this year, we expect to run a similar session next year, which will be slightly earlier than usual, taking place in May. So we look forward to seeing some fantastic in-person demos there.
All right, so I think we are ready, aren't we? Let's show the winner. Maybe we can have a drum roll or some other animal sound as we wait. No, I don't want to push it too much, but why don't we show the winner, Harmy?
Absolutely. So it was quite close, and then we had some additional votes come in at the last minute, but the winner is Annex Cloud. Well done, the Annex Cloud team.
Excellent. Congratulations. I got to tell you, I've been doing this for a little while and all demos were fantastic. So kudos to Annex Cloud, to Inch Out, the competition. And if you go off mute, maybe just 30 seconds, you can thank your parents and the people in the balcony and whoever else that you like. If you could just, again, keep it to about 30 seconds while we are closing out here, just in terms of what you see in the future and whatever else you'd like to share.
Well, thanks so much. Obviously, if you guys need people at the in-person conferences, you just let us know. We'd be happy to show up there and do something else or do this over again. But you know, we're just happy to be a very deeply integrated Salesforce partner. You know, I didn't actually get to show the page designer, which you mentioned, Rob, of the drag and drop. We have some more stuff coming out with Salesforce. There's some things in Marketing Cloud, obviously with 3 minutes, I'm just not going to have time to show, with pulling in segments and building segments using loyalty data on top of other demographic data. So really, you know, anybody that is on the call, whether you're a consultancy working with a client or you're just a happy Salesforce user, you know, I don't really care what part of the Salesforce ecosystem you work with. Annex Cloud probably works with, you know, the same part of the ecosystem or has something that does work with that ecosystem, because, you know, we really do, you know, appreciate the relationship, and, you know, we really like the clients that we share together.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. And thanks to Annex Cloud, Bolt, Computop, Contentsquare, Globally, and Signified. Great job showcasing your solutions. And I'd like to thank everybody for spending some time with us today. Be sure to check out all of our partners on the Commerce Cloud Partner Marketplace and keep an eye out for information on our next demo jams. Have a great day and happy holidays.